Imagine stepping onto a beach where the sand isn't golden or white or even black, but a soft, dreamlike, cotton candy pink. This isn't a Photoshop fantasy or a secluded corner of a distant galaxy. This is a very real, very rare geological phenomenon happening right here on our planet. And the shocking truth is that beautiful pink hue isn't made what you probably think it is. It's not dyed, it's not a mineral trick, and it's certainly not a social media filter. That color comes from life, and more specifically, from death. It's the ghost of a coral reef, pulverized by millennia of ocean waves, mixed with the shattered shells of tiny, ancient creatures. But here's the hook that will change how you see every beach forever. This pink sand is a barometer for the health of our oceans, a canary in the coal mine for climate change, and its increasing rarity is sending us a desperate, coded message about the future of our planet's ecosystems. If these pink beaches vanish, it won't just be a loss of a beautiful tourist destination. It will be a funeral bell for a critical, complex, and utterly fragile marine world. I'm about to take you on a deep dive into the science, the history, and the urgent crisis of Earth's pink sand beaches. You'll discover exactly what creates that impossible color, where you can still find these natural wonders, and why they are disappearing at an alarming rate. But more than that, you'll understand the intricate web of life they represent. So, if you're ready to have your mind blown by one of nature's most delicate masterpieces and learn what its survival means for all of us, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because this journey to the world's most fragile shores starts right now. The foundational ingredient of most pink sand is foraminifera, microscopic single-celled organisms that live in the ocean. But these aren't just any microbes, they are architects. Specifically, a genus called Homotrimer rubrum secretes a hard, reddish-pink shell made of calcium carbonate. They live attached to coral reefs and underwater surfaces, and when they die, their tiny, durable shells are washed ashore. Over centuries, waves and currents crush and grind these shells along with fragments of pink and red coral, white coral skeleton, and bits of other shells and minerals like quartz and calcium carbonate from larger marine life. The resulting mix, where the pink particles are abundant enough to dominate the visual palette against the white and beige background, creates that iconic blush-colored shore. The exact shade from a pale, almost peach-like tone to a vibrant rose pink depends entirely on the concentration of these homotrimer shells and coral fragments. It's a painstakingly slow recipe. A single grain of pink sand might contain the remnants of countless foraminifera, a history of a thriving reef compressed into a speck you can hold between your fingers. This isn't a quick process. It's a geological timescale artwork. The beach you walk on represents thousands, if not millions, of years of continuous biological production, death, and physical weathering. Think about that for a second. Each footstep on a pink beach is a step across a mosaic of ancient oceanic life. That's a profoundly different feeling than walking on silica-based sand, which is primarily just eroded rock. This sand is born from biology, not just geology. It's a testament to a living, breathing ocean. The coral provides the structure, the foraminifera add the pigment, and the relentless energy of the ocean does the milling and mixing. It's a perfect symbiotic production line. But this production line has very specific requirements. The water must be warm, clear, and nutrient poor, which is why these beaches are almost exclusively found in tropical and subtropical latitudes. The coral reef must be healthy and prolific to provide both habitat for the foraminifera and a source of its own calcium carbonate debris. The currents and wave patterns must be just right to transport the lightweight shell fragments to the shore, but not sweep them away into deeper water. It's a delicate balance and natural miracle that occurs in only a handful of places on Earth. The most famous is undoubtedly Harbor Island in the Bahamas, where 3 miles of stunning pink shoreline face the Atlantic Ocean, but others exist in Bermuda, parts of Indonesia, the Philippines, and a few other remote islands. Each one is a unique expression of this formula, with local variations in coral species, foraminifera populations, and wave dynamics creating a signature hue. Understanding this origin story is the first step to appreciating why these beaches are so much more than a pretty picture. They are a direct physical manifestation of a healthy, calcifying marine ecosystem. The pink is literally the color of a thriving reef. When you look at that sand, you are looking at the vitality of an entire underwater world rendered in a breathtaking palette. So the next time you see a photo of a pink beach, don't just see a vacation dream. See a billion microscopic architects, a forest of coral, and the timeless grinding of the sea. It's a story written in calcium carbonate and color, and we've only just begun to read the first chapter. But to understand the full drama, we need to look at where these beaches exist and the unique environments that cradle them. Before we move to those specific locations, if this deep dive into the science of sand is fascinating you, let me know in the comments by typing pink science. It helps me know you're finding this valuable and want more content like this. So where on earth does this magical recipe come together? The map of pink sand beaches is a scattered, exclusive club with membership granted only by a perfect alignment of geography, climate, and biology. The poster child, as mentioned, is Harbor Island in the Bahamas. Its beach, often called Pink Sands Beach, faces the rugged Atlantic side of the island, protected by a shallow offshore reef that takes the brunt of the ocean's force. This reef is the factory. It's here that the coral grows and the Homotrima rubrum foraminifera cling to its nooks and crannies. The waves breaking over the reef erode and pulverize the coral and shells, and the subsequent gentler waves lapping the shore deposit the pink-tinted mixture. The contrast of the pink sand against the turquoise water and the dramatic dark blue of the Atlantic deep just beyond the reef is a sight that defines paradise for many. But the Bahamas doesn't hold a monopoly. Bermuda, another Atlantic island gem, boasts several pink sand coves and stretches like Horseshoe Bay and Elbow Beach. Bermuda's geology is itself a massive coral cap, sitting on a volcanic seamount, making the entire island a potential source for carbonate sand. The pink here often has a slightly deeper, more coral-toned hue, influenced by the specific types of reef-building corals in the surrounding waters. Journeying to the Pacific, we find pockets of pink in places like Komodo Island in Indonesia, where the sand can be a striking pale pink, and Great Santa Cruz Island in the Philippines. In the Indian Ocean, parts of the Seychelles and Mauritius report hints of pink in their sands. However, it's crucial to distinguish a true, extensive pink sand beach from a shoreline with occasional pink grains. The iconic, uniformly pink expanses are exceedingly rare. The conditions are that precise. It's not enough to have foraminifera, they must dominate the sand composition in that specific location. Ocean currents are the great distributors and artists here. They decide which debris reaches which shore. A beach around the headland from a thriving reef might be pure white, while a bay that acts as a natural sediment trap becomes gloriously pink. This makes every true pink beach a unique hydrodynamic accident, a treasure chest placed just where the ocean decided to dump its most colorful jewels. Visiting these places reveals more than just color. The sand itself has a different texture, because it's composed of finely ground calcium carbonate. From organic sources, it's often softer, cooler, and squeakier underfoot than silica sand. It doesn't get scorching hot under the midday sun in the same way, a small but delightful perk for barefoot wanderers. The surrounding ecology is also telling. A healthy pink sand beach is usually flanked by a living, vibrant reef just offshore. The beach is the echo of that reef. You'll often find the sand sloping gently into incredibly clear, calm water protected by the reef structure, creating ideal snorkeling conditions where you can visit the source ecosystem itself. This creates a powerful, tangible connection You can stand on the product of the reef and then swim out to see the factory in action. The vegetation behind these beaches is often adapted to the carbonate sand and salt spray, with hardy shrubs and coconut palms taking root. But the very existence of these beaches is tied to a lack of terrestrial sediment input. If a large river laden with silt or clay emptied nearby, it will overwhelm the delicate pink particles, staining the sand brown or gray. That's why you won't find pink beaches on continental coastlines. They are the domain of isolated islands, away from major river deltas, where the sand is born purely from the sea. This isolation adds to their mystique and vulnerability. They are ecosystems in a bubble. The journey to reach them is often part of the pilgrimage, involving small planes and boats, reinforcing the idea that you are traveling to a world apart, a world built by and for the ocean. However, this isolation is a double-edged sword. It has protected them from some forms of development, but it also makes their delicate balance more susceptible to global rather than local threats. A plastic pollutant or a change in water chemistry here can't be diluted by a large landmass. It concentrates in this closed system. So while we marvel at these locations as bucket list destinations, we must also recognize them as isolated sanctuaries of a specific oceanic process. They are not just pretty places, they are natural history museums, displaying the ongoing work of the sea in real time. And as we'll see, the exhibit is under threat. The very processes that created these beaches over millennia are being disrupted in a matter of decades. To understand that threat, we need to look at the lifeblood of the pink sand, the coral reef itself. If you're dreaming of visiting one of these pink shores after this, drop a comment below telling me which one. Harbor Island, Bermuda, or a Pacific paradise is now on your travel bucket list. The engine of the pink sand beach is the coral reef, a living metropolis beneath the waves. Without a thriving, calcifying reef, the supply of both coral fragments and the Homotrema foraminifera simply stops. And herein lies the central crisis. Coral reefs worldwide are in catastrophic decline. The primary threat is climate change, specifically ocean warming and acidification. When sea surface temperatures rise even slightly above seasonal norms, corals undergo a stress response called bleaching. They expel the symbiotic algae, zooxanthellae, that live in their tissues and provide them with up to 90% of their energy through photosynthesis. This algae is what gives coral its color. So when it's expelled, the coral turns a ghostly white, revealing its bare calcium carbonate skeleton. A bleached coral is not dead immediately, but it is severely weakened and starved. If the stressful conditions persist, and with climate change, heat waves are becoming more frequent, longer, and more intense, the coral will die. Once dead, the complex three-dimensional structure of the reef begins to erode. Algae overtakes it, and parrotfish and other bioerodes break it down. The supply of fresh, hard coral fragments to the beach dwindles and is replaced by softer, algae rubble that doesn't contribute to that iconic pink sand. It's a conversion from a vibrant, productive factory to a crumbling, inefficient ruin. The second, more insidious threat is ocean acidification. As the atmosphere's concentration of carbon dioxide, CO2, increases, about a quarter of it is absorbed by the oceans. This triggers a chemical reaction that lowers the pH of the seawater, making it more acidic. A more acidic ocean directly attacks the building blocks of marine life with calcium carbonate shells or skeletons. It becomes energetically more expensive for corals, foraminifera mollusks, and countless other creatures to build and maintain their hard parts. In highly acidic conditions, the calcium carbonate can even begin to dissolve. Think of it as the ocean itself turning from a supportive, mineral-rich broth for building life into a corrosive solvent. For our pink sand, this is a dual blow. It weakens the coral reef structure, making it more prone to physical breakdown from storms, and it directly threatens the tiny foraminifera, the very source of the pink pigment. Their delicate shells may become thinner, malformed, or fail to form at all. Research is already showing changes in foraminifera populations and shell density in more acidic waters. So, climate change is launching a two-front war on the pink sand production line. Heat waves shut down the coral factory through bleaching, and acidification corrodes the building materials for both the factory and the pigment. Local threats compound this global problem. Pollution from coastal development, agricultural runoff, and inadequate wastewater treatment can lead to nutrient loading in the water. This causes algal blooms that smother corals and block sunlight. Overfishing, particularly of herbivorous fish like parrotfish that keep algae in check, disrupts the reef's ecological balance. Destructive fishing practices like blast fishing or trawling near reefs cause immediate physical devastation. Even tourism, if unmanaged, can be a threat. Sunscreen chemicals like oxybenzone have been shown to cause coral bleaching and DNA damage in larval corals. Thousands of swimmers near a delicate reef can introduce a significant dose of these pollutants. Furthermore, direct human interaction with the sand itself can be an issue. Illegal sand mining, though more common for construction-grade sand, is a threat to any unique beach. Removing sand disrupts the natural coastal buffer and depletes a non-renewable resource on a human timescale. Building seawalls or jetties can alter the currents that naturally deposit the pink sand, potentially starving a beach of its source or causing it to erode away. So the pink beach is caught in a vice. On one side, the global, diffuse, and overwhelming forces of climate change. On the other, a suite of local, direct human impacts. The terrifying reality is that the creation of pink sand is a process measured in centuries, but its destruction could be measured in years. A major bleaching event can kill a reef in a single season. A poorly placed pier can alter sediment flow in a matter of months. The time scales are catastrophically mismatched. This makes pink sand beaches not just beautiful oddities, but some of the most visible and poignant indicators of oceanic health. Their color is a direct reflection of the vitality of the reef. A fading, less vibrant pink beach, or one where the pink is being diluted by ordinary sand or mud, is a silent alarm bell. It's the ocean's way of showing us, in a language of stunning beauty, that something is going profoundly wrong beneath the surface. The loss would be multi-layered, an aesthetic tragedy for humanity, an economic disaster for communities reliant on tourism, and an ecological catastrophe signaling the collapse of an entire marine ecosystem. The fight to save pink beaches, therefore, is inseparable from the fight to save coral reefs and stabilize our climate. It's a microcosm of the broader environmental challenge we face. Is there hope? Can these rosy shores be saved, or are we merely documenting a dying wonder? The answer is complex, but not without promising avenues. The solution requires action on two parallel tracks: aggressive global climate policy and hyper-localized conservation and restoration efforts. On the global stage, the only long-term solution for coral reefs, and thus for the future of pink sand, is a drastic reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. Stabilizing global temperatures and slowing ocean acidification is non-negotiable. Every fraction of a degree of warming avoided, every ton of CO2 kept out of the atmosphere, gives reefs a better chance of adaptation and survival. International agreements like the Paris Accord are, in essence, treaties for the survival of coral reefs and all the ecosystems, including pink beaches that depend on them. As individuals, supporting policies and leaders committed to a rapid transition to renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and conservation is a direct action we can take for the future of these beaches. It may feel disconnected, but the connection is absolute. The carbon footprint of a car in Chicago or a power plant in China directly influences the water temperature around a tiny island in the Bahamas. On the local and regional level, the work is hands-on and immediate. Creating and enforcing strong marine protected areas, MPAs, around reef systems is one of the most effective tools. MPAs that restrict fishing, ban destructive practices, and manage tourism pressure allow reef ecosystems to build resilience. A healthy, biodiverse reef with intact populations of herbivorous fish is better able to recover from a bleaching event than a stressed, overfished one. These protected zones essentially act as lifeboats, preserving genetic diversity and robust ecosystems that can hopefully reseed adjacent areas. The next frontier is coral restoration science. Around the world, marine biologists are operating like underwater gardeners. Techniques include coral gardening, where fragments of hardy corals are grown in nurseries on PVC trees or floating lines and later out planted onto degraded reefs. There's also assisted evolution, where scientists selectively breed or condition corals to be more tolerant of heat and acidity. Researchers are even exploring the use of probiotics, introducing beneficial bacteria to corals to boost their health, much like we take probiotics for gut health. Another innovative approach is lateral propagation, where scientists collect coral spawn during mass annual spawning events, rear the larvae in tanks, and then release them onto reefs to boost recruitment. For the foraminifera, the pink pigment producers, research is less advanced but following a similar path. Understanding their specific tolerances to temperature and pH and mapping their populations is the first step. Perhaps in the future, restoration could involve seeding areas with resilient strains of Homotrema rubrum, though this is a more delicate proposition given their microscopic size and complex life cycle. Direct intervention for the beaches themselves is also possible, though controversial. Nourishing a pink sand beach by importing compatible pink sand from offshore deposits is sometimes discussed, but it's expensive, logistically challenging, and can disturb the source area. It treats the symptom, erosion, not the disease, loss, sediment supply. The best coastal management is often to get out of the way to remove seawalls, allow dunes to form naturally, and protect the shoreline vegetation that stabilizes the sand. For tourists, the mantra is visit, don't vanish. Choosing eco-conscious tour operators, using only mineral-based, reef-safe sunscreen. Look for zinc oxide or titanium dioxide as active ingredients, and following strict guidelines about not touching or standing on corals are essential. Supporting local economies that value the reefs. Health over short-term gain is crucial. In places like Bermuda and the Bahamas, pink sand is a major economic driver, creating a powerful incentive for local communities to be stewards. Harnessing the economic power for conservation is key. Scientists are also developing better monitoring tools. Satellite imagery can track beach erosion and even subtle changes in sand color. Drones can map reef health. Citizen science projects can engage tourists and locals in reporting coral bleaching or collecting data on foraminifera. This creates a broader community of guardians. The overarching strategy is one of resilience-based management. Instead of just trying to preserve a static snapshot of the reef, the goal is to manage all the stressors we can control: pollution, overfishing, physical damage. So the reef has the maximum possible capacity to withstand the global stressors we can't immediately control, like heat waves. It's about giving nature the tools to fight its own battle. The hope lies in this multi-pronged effort: global carbon policy as the ultimate fix, and local action as the life support system. It's a race against time, but not a hopeless one. Every restored acre of reef, every successful marine park, and every policy that cuts emissions adds a bit more time to the clock and increases the chances that our grandchildren will still be able to marvel at the surreal beauty of a pink sand beach. They are worth saving, not just for their beauty, but for everything they represent: biodiversity, ecological balance, and the stunning creativity of life on Earth. As we stand at the water's edge of this knowledge, looking out at the metaphorical pink horizon, let's connect all the dots into a final, compelling picture. The story of the pink sand beach is a profound parable for our relationship with the natural world. It demonstrates how beauty is often the most visible expression of a hidden, intricate, and fragile system. It shows how a global phenomenon climate change manifests in the most localized and specific of ways, threatening to erase unique wonders one by one. And it reveals that the solutions, while daunting, are within our grasp if we act with urgency, intelligence, and both global and local focus. Your role in this story is more significant than you might think. It begins with awareness. Now that you know what creates that impossible pink hue, the billions of microscopic foraminifera, the pulverized coral, the millennia of oceanic artistry, you can never see these beaches as just a pretty backdrop again. You are now a witness to their deeper meaning. Share that knowledge. When you see a picture of a pink beach, be the person who explains the science and the stakes. Use your voice on social media to amplify the work of coral restoration organizations and climate action groups. Knowledge is the first spark of change. Next, consider your own footprint. The choices we make in our daily lives collectively steer the ship of our global economy and by extension our climate. Reducing your personal carbon footprint through energy conservation, mindful consumption, diet choices, and transportation decisions is a direct contribution to lowering ocean temperatures and acidity. Support businesses and politicians who prioritize sustainability. Vote with your wallet and your ballot for the future of these ecosystems. If you are fortunate enough to visit a pink sand beach, be a pilgrim, not just a tourist. Tread lightly. Choose eco-certified accommodations and tour operators. Slather on only the reef-safe sunscreen. Follow all guidelines for interacting with the marine environment. Take nothing but photographs, leave nothing but bubbles, and your carefully spent tourist dollars in the local economy. Consider volunteering for a citizen science project during your visit. Many research organizations need help with data collection. Become an active participant in the conservation story. Finally, support the organizations on the front lines. There are incredible NGOs and research institutions dedicated solely to coral reef conservation and marine protection. Groups like the Coral Restoration Foundation, the Ocean Foundation, Secor International, and local trusts in places like Bermuda and the Bahamas are doing the hands-on, essential work. Donate if you can, even a small amount. Follow their work, share their successes and calls to action. They are the doctors in the emergency room for our reefs, and they need all the support we can give them. The call to action is clear and twofold. First, get involved right now. Before this video ends, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Why? Because this channel is dedicated to unpacking the wonders of our planet and the challenges they face. By subscribing, you're telling me you want more deep dives like this into other fragile ecosystems, hidden natural processes, and the science of saving them. Ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single video. I'm building a community of the curious and the caring, and I want you in it. Second, start the conversation. Go down to the comments section right now and tell me one thing you learned today that shocked you. Was it the role of the tiny foraminifera, the threat of ocean acidification, the concept of coral gardening? Let's get a massive discussion going. Your comments fuel this channel's growth and help spread these vital ideas. And share this video with one person you think needs to see it. Share it with a friend who loves travel, a family member concerned about the environment, or someone who just appreciates beautiful mysteries. Let's spread this awareness like a positive virus. The pink sand beach is a gift, a geological heirloom passed down through countless generations of marine life and now entrusted to us. It is a symbol of nature's delicate artistry and a warning sign written in the most beautiful script imaginable. Its fate is not yet sealed. With informed passion, collective action, and a renewed respect for the intricate connections that sustain our world, we can ensure that these rosy shores continue to blush for centuries to come. The tide of challenge is high, but together we can be the seawall of hope. Thank you for watching, for learning, and for caring. Now let's get to work. I'll see you in the comments.